Yeah, that font you just used on that logo you just sold? Did you have the rights to do that? Welcome back, designers. My name is Mike Pickett. I'm a vector and logo designer with nearly 20 years in the design industry. This video, we're going to take a look at 3 different things. We're going to talk about the difference between a font and a typeface to start, kind of an important one. Next, we're going to talk about licensing. What rights do you have when it comes to fonts and logo design? Finally, I'm going to take you through my 3 best places to find fonts to use for your next logo. Now, if this is your first time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. If this is your 3rd or 4th time here, maybe it's about time you just subscribed because you keep coming back to watch the content anyways. Also, hit that thumbs up before you move on to your next video, or hit the thumbs down. Maybe you're just not digging what I'm putting out there. Either way, it lets me know whether I'm doing things right or wrong for the vast majority of people that are here. All right, so first up, a quick lesson on font versus typeface. When we start installing things onto our computers, you can download a whole bunch of fonts. Is that the same as a typeface? Not necessarily. An example of a really well-known typeface is Helvetica. You've also got Arial, Futura, Garamond. There's a whole bunch of different typefaces out there. For example, Futura, if we take that one, we know that it's one that kind of has those pointy tops to it and sharp edges, sort of really defined angles on the apexes. That's the typeface. Now, if you download the typeface, it might include various fonts, and the fonts would be, say, Futura Medium, or Arial Italic, or Helvetica Bold. Those are our different fonts. There's a lot of history that goes on with this that goes back to typesetting. The differences between a typeface and a font go a lot deeper than what I've explained here, but this is just kind of an entry level. I just wanted to kind of cover the basics. And again, in a future video, I'll talk more about the differences between a typeface and a font, and we'll really get into the terminology behind all of this. All right, so next up, let's talk licensing. Keep in mind, I did not go to Harvard Law. I am not a lawyer, so this is just my advice and kind of the research that I've been able to find on licensing of fonts. So essentially, when it comes to graphic design, you have the right to use any font you've purchased in any design whatsoever. The key to this is that you need to convert it to outlines and make it so it's not an active font or a live font, an editable font. So the type that you're putting onto your posters, your business cards, you can use any font that you have the right to or that you purchased, but that file can't be handed over to your client with text that can be edited by them unless they own the rights to the font as well. Sounds a little messy, but it's actually pretty simple. One of the things you want to do if you've purchased fonts or you have any kind of subscription service, make sure you're reading the EULA or the end user license agreement for the fonts that are included, just so that you understand whether you can actually use them commercially or if it's for personal use only. Now, when you start going through some of the websites I'm going to include at the end here, depending on the font, depending on the site, you're going to find different user agreements. Some say that they're open and can be used for anything. Others say that you can use them only for personal work. So make sure that you're actually reading the license before you're handing work off to your clients. And never include a font file for your client to use of something you've purchased. If you're looking at doing branding for a client and you're including a whole branding package where they're going to want to use the font for making letters, or it's going to be kind of their main typeface that they're going to use for all of their communication with their clients, you're going to want to make sure that they purchase a license, or you set the initial license up when you're purchasing the font in your client's name, do the work that you have to do with it, and then transfer the font files once you're done over to the client to use. Keep in mind, you can't use that font again with future clients unless you purchase another license. Now, each one of these rules is going to depend on where you're getting the font from. So like I've said before, a couple of times now, just make sure you're reading the license that comes with the font. It's going to explain everything that you need to know before you get started. All right, so let's talk about where I find my fonts. This is my top 3 list for the best places to source fonts for your designs. Number 1 is Font Foundries. Now, these are not in any specific order. They're not in kind of popularity or anything like that. Font Foundries are places where you can find fonts. These are companies that actually make the fonts. One of the most well-known font foundries is Heffler & Co. They're the ones that came up with the Gotham font, which I'm sure pretty much every designer out there knows about now. They also created Decimal, which is a really cool font. I'm really digging this one. It's one that I haven't purchased any licenses for yet, but I'm trying to see how I can fit it into some future work. Now, most of your Foundries are going to charge a fee for their fonts. They might have 1 or 2 fonts that you can download, like they'll maybe offer a regular in, say, Gotham or in Decimal or any of the other ones that they have available that you can download and use for free. But if you want the rest of the typeface and the fonts that are in that family, you would have to purchase a license for them. Licenses can go from $10, $15 per font up to sometimes thousands of dollars for a full typeface. So Heffler & Co. is one, but there's also other ones out there. A couple of my other favorites are fontfabric.com. This company has a lot of really cool looking fonts ranging from just your basic serif types to some display type fonts and even some sans serif fonts. Another favorite of mine is fontsmith.com, and fontsmith.com, again, kind of like Font Fabric and Heffler & Co. They've got a lot of different style in there. Do your own search for font foundries, see what you can find. There's a lot more than just these 3 that I've mentioned. Okay, so next on my list of places to find fonts for your logo designs, or any other design really, is free font websites. There's a whole bunch of these out there. You can find them all over the place. I mean, one of the most well-known ones that I'm not even going to show, or I'm just going to mention, I'm not going to talk about it, is dafont.com. I'm not a fan of it. I think there's a lot of really poorly designed fonts on this website. There's a bunch that are really great, but it just feels like it's become kind of the dumping ground of fonts. If you're looking for some higher quality fonts and a website where you're not having to scour through 4,000 different fonts to find something that works, my top choice is fontsquirrel.com. I've been using fontsquirrel.com for roughly about 5 or 6 years now for sure, probably longer than that. I can't remember the exact date that I found this site. It's well organized. There's a really good selection of fonts on here, and you have the right to use these in pretty much anything you want to. And the nice thing about it, because they're free fonts, you can download the font, use it for what you want, and then just give the link over to your client, and they'll be able to then download the font themselves and use it for whatever they want to. So you get that little bit of branding with the typeface that you're using between the logo and all the other different aspects of the company. Next on my list is googlefonts.com. Now, this is one that probably a lot of you already know about. Huge selection of fonts. I don't remember the exact number. I'll put it up on the screen. It's massive. They have so many different fonts available. Now, the nice thing about this, though, is that they're actually quality fonts. These are fonts that are put together by Google. Now, that's not to say that you're never going to find a junky font in here, but I mean, the chances of finding one are pretty rare, pretty slim. I use googlefonts.com a lot. Again, this one's kind of like Font Squirrel in that you can download the font and then send the link over to your clients and they're able to use it as well. Now, my final choice for this one is a website that I just found. It was while I was doing some research for a project that I was working on, and that's fontbundles.net. Now, they have a free section on the website where you can actually go in and download free fonts that are normally fonts that would be available for sale on the website, or they're a single font in a typeface. So for example, you might find like a script font that has a regular and a bold, and they're giving you the regular for free, but the bold you would have to purchase if you wanted it. Now, keep in mind, you're going to want to check the licensing on this one because some of them are only for personal use again. Some of them include complete commercial use, and you can go ahead and use them forever you want. But keep in mind, once more, if you're going to be giving this file to your client, normally the end user license agreement is for the purchaser or whoever's name is on the invoice or the receipt of the purchase, not whoever you're designing the logo for. All right, number 3, my most favorite place to get fonts, and I know I'm gonna take some heat on this one because there's such a hatred going on for these guys over the last little while, but it's Adobe. I use the Adobe Creative Cloud suite and I love it. And there's so many reasons that I love it. I see a lot of people out there that are upset over the fact that they no longer own their software. They're renting their software. I get it. I understand where that sentiment is coming from, but when I look at all the perks that I have with my Creative Cloud license, the range of software that I have available to me that I never have to go out and buy again, I can just keep paying for it each month. And I mean, I get it. Yeah, it's that monthly recurring thing, but I have access to so many different things, such as fonts. And with the Adobe Creative Cloud, you get a full suite of fonts, and you can use these for any project you want. Now again, if your client wants to be able to use one of these fonts, they would actually have to go and subscribe to Adobe themselves and set up a Creative Cloud account, so you can't use it to transfer ownership over your client. What you can do, of course, is when you're creating a logo, right-click on the logo, create outlines, send that over to your client. They then have no issue with trademark or copyright. So as you can see, there's a ton of different places that you can find fonts and typefaces to use with your logos or any other design for that matter. Now keep in mind, designers, this is just a small sample of what's available out there. Get on the web, do your searches, find some great places. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what are your favorite places to find fonts. Did you know about the licensing thing? I didn't when I first started. It's good to know. Keep yourself safe out there. All right, designers, time for me to get back to work. I hope you learned something out of this video. Now get out there and design something, and I'll see you in the next one.